This is John Cola with growingyourgreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. What I'm going to do today is answer your questions. So if you post a question on my channel page or email me through YouTube, it may actually end up in a video like this, or it may not get answered at all. The best place to post a question is right below the video, right down below. And many times I do read the comments, but a lot of times I don't answer it. I just don't have the time to answer every particular comment, although I try to answer as many as I can. In any case, let's get right into the questions today. First question is from Mayor of Poof City. For your Chilean guava berries, does it need acidic soil like blueberries? Half peat moss and half soil, or 25% peat moss in a pot. So the Chilean guava berries, also known as ugni berries, also known as Tazzy berries, I just got them in the pot. I transferred it into a larger pot with some compost. I never even really paid attention to the soil, to be honest with you. I do know that some people say you're supposed to have some acidic soil, and I haven't found that to be true. The one thing that I have found to be true is that you don't want them to get too dry. They don't like drying out, especially in a pot. I have been successful making some fruit in pot culture, although I'm going to be getting those in the ground as soon as possible. And put them in a good sunny spot, I think would be my recommendation. So yeah, if you want to, do some good compost and, add some acidic soil in there, might be good, but, I've had good luck without it. That being said, I probably wouldn't plant it in alkaline soil either. The next question is from Anita Go Fra Dump 2008. I was just thinking of planting more potatoes next week when I thought to myself, while browsing YouTube in the few years I've been watching your videos, John, it has occurred to me I don't ever recall seeing you grow potatoes. I know they're fairly cheap to buy, but is there a reason you never grow them? I'm nosy like that, asking questions. Maybe if you don't get around to answering this now, maybe you could put it in one of your videos when you ask your questions and you answer them. Thanks, John. I'm always inspired by your videos. So you are absolutely correct. Actually, I haven't grown any potatoes. Maybe a couple years back, I threw some potatoes in my compost pile and they grew without me knowing it. But in general, I encourage people to grow what they eat. I don't generally eat potatoes. I mean, I think potatoes are a good crop, and most people's vegetables in the United States, especially kids in school getting school lunches and all this kind of stuff. I mean, potatoes is probably one of the #1 consumed vegetables in the form of French fries and hash browns and all the different potato products that are made. They tend to be a more calorically dense food, but not so nutritionally dense. Yeah, I mean, I think potatoes are good and better than, I don't know, a Snickers bar. But that being said, I'd rather devote the space in my garden to growing something like leafy greens that I will enjoy much more. Another thing I like to tell people is that, grow what is expensive to buy and easy to grow. So leafy greens are, $2, $3 for a bunch. Potatoes are 10 pounds for $1, depending on what time of year it is and where you live. That being said, if you are a potato connoisseur, by all means, grow your potatoes, because I am all for genetic diversity. And there's literally hundreds of varieties of potatoes, purple ones, pink ones, red ones, and all different colors. And if you go to the store, you usually only get the russets. So another reason to grow your potatoes if you want them. That being said, I would rather grow something like Jerusalem artichokes, which have actually 5 times the amount of iron, and in my opinion, it's a lot more nutritious food. Also, in my opinion, they grow a lot easier. Literally, they grow as weeds. So if you got some of my Jerusalem artichoke starts, hey, post down below and let me know how they're growing for you. So the next question is from VXX Toke. John, I have a question. I live out here in Tucson and got interested in starting a garden. Do you think fun direct sunlight from AZ would be perfect in other occasions? It ends up burning my plants. IVXX. So all I could think of that question he's asking if he wants to start a garden and if it's good to grow a garden in Arizona. Well, as you know, the Arizona is the desert Southwest, can actually get quite hot there in the summer. I know there's other gardeners on YouTube growing down there in Arizona. They have a YouTube channel and are doing it successfully. I'm growing in Las Vegas, which has a similar climate, and you can do it. So that being said, it's very important to dial in how you're growing and actually what you're growing. So it's very important to get some good soil, growing some good compost, spend 90% of your money on the soil, because the soil are going to be your plants. And if you're growing in a desert soil that drains very quickly, doesn't have a lot of organic matter, and you know, your plants may not grow as well. Also, it probably wouldn't be a good thing to be growing lettuce in the summertime in Arizona. You know, grow things are going to do well. One of the easiest plants that comes to mind growing in the summertime in the hot weather, eggplants. They seem to do really well. Also peppers. Tomatoes, when it gets too hot, can be iffy, so if you do grow tomatoes, you want to get a variety that is more heat tolerant and will do well in the hot heats of the summertime. In addition, cherry tomatoes tend to do quite well, and of course my good old favorite tree collards have actually done quite well in the desert in Las Vegas. Also, you could look towards landscaping trees, even cactuses. You know, you grow cactuses for the cactus pads and the cactus fruits. And also there's many trees of the desert that produce edible food. One of my favorites is actually mesquite. So, and also of course, some standard fruit trees may do well in your area, but be sure to check with a local university extension office and find out what crops you could grow at what times, and that might help you out a little bit to get you started. Also, be sure to check the local resources if there's any other farmers, urban farmers or growers in your area. You know, learn from them, because they are going to be the true experts for what to grow in your area, because they are already doing it, and hopefully they've been doing it for a number of years. So the next question is from Kim Backerink. Hey John, I had a question. Does diatomaceous earth affect earthworms and beneficial soil microbes? I would like to use it in my garden, but I don't want to harm the allies. Thanks, Kim B. All right, Kim. Well, I do use diatomaceous earth in my garden on some occasions. And for those of you that don't know, DE or diatomaceous earth is basically like fossilized shells that are ground up into a fine powder. So number one, very important, if you are using DE, you need to get a good face mask. I do have a friend that actually used DE on his cats, actually, to get rid of the fleas, because that's a good, actually, natural flea treatment for pets. Because if you rub it in their fur, it'll basically desiccate or dry out the fleas and they won't longer be alive. That's also how it works on the insects in your garden. So if it does do this to the bad insects, absolutely right, it will do this to the good insects as well. DE is not like, you know, selective. It's not, oh, I'm only gonna go after the bad insects. So you may wanna be cautious about that. Sometimes you can use DE as like a soil amendment for some of the nutritional qualities. Now in the soil, if you do it in small amounts, I don't think it's gonna necessarily harm the earthworms, because once the DE gets hydrated with the moist soil, you know, I don't think it's gonna have a big effect on that. I don't know how it's gonna affect the soil microorganisms. I personally don't think it's gonna be a real big issue, because it's just like basically another mineral. And once again, once it's kind of wet down, it's not going to have the same effect as when it's dry. If you do want to use it for insect protection, I'd recommend you get like a duster to apply it, so you could find like a nice fine dusting of it. And once again, make sure you wear a respirator, maybe even some eye protection, and do it when it's not windy, because man, that stuff blowing around, it's going to be worse than even the rock dust. So the next question is from Stinky Minky Shoes. John, you are brilliant. Thanks for all the videos. Why, thank you. Do you have any affordable, non-invasive, and low-maintenance ideas for keeping cats out of your garden and using it as a litter box and destroying all your hard work? Thanks. Well, I have a really good video. I think it's entitled Keeping Cats Out of Your Garden. So I went to my friends Ronnie and Min's house, and they actually showed me how they're doing it. And it's basically by using some galvanized wire fencing, galvanized welded wire fencing, and just putting it over their beds. And pretty much you only need to do that when your beds are still full of dirt. If they start growing plants in there, then the cats won't really go in there. But when the cats see like an empty bed, it's like, once again, a big litter box for them. Another thing you can do is like around the edges, you could put up like some fencing, like either plastic fencing or bird netting. Just put it up a couple feet so they just can't even get in there. And that's another easy way to do it. Once again, once you have everything established and the plants are pretty tall, and hopefully you're growing a lot of stuff, so it's going to fill in all the empty space, they won't have space to walk. Plus, you know, one of the things I like to do in my raised beds is actually plant things so close that I don't need to use a mulch, so that I just have things growing everywhere, so it's more food production and also less mulching. Sometimes I think with mulching, you know, it gives certain pests a place to hide, such as slugs and snails, which I have been having an issue on, and I will have a upcoming episode on those little buggers soon. So we're down to the last question. Last question is from IFL77SF. Can I add crushed calcium vitamins for a vegetable garden? You could absolutely do anything you want to do. Now, crushed calcium vitamins, maybe they're expired or something, I'd probably, you know, powder them up and sprinkle them all over my garden. I wouldn't just put them on one plant or anything. You'll probably be fine, because if they are meant for human consumption, they're probably from an oyster shell, although they may be from something else. But that's definitely an expensive calcium supplement to use in your garden. I'd probably, you know, if you do need to add calcium, rather better yet, just buy a calcium supplement from the fertilizer feed store. It's gonna be much less expensive and just the right stuff to use anyways. That being said, on adding calcium, you know, adding calcium can and will change your pH. So depending on where your pH is now, it may be a good thing or it may be a bad thing to add the calcium. So I'd encourage you, before adding any major amounts of calcium to your garden, to get a soil test so that you know where you're at, to see where the added calcium will take you, because soil pH is very important to growing plants. Some plants like acidic soils, like blueberries for example, and some plants like more alkaline soils. And then there's, like, you know, your soil needs to be a range in between, and a lot of plants will grow in this certain range, and if you get out of bounds a little bit, then you'll have complete failure in your garden. So you know, definitely good to keep it in range, and check your pH before adding a lot of extra calcium. But I can't see really, you know, like a bottle's worth of vitamin supplement calcium, as long as it's from a natural source. I couldn't see that as being a problem if you distributed it evenly over a large area. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this question and answer time with me. I really enjoy answering your guys' questions, because it's really easy for me. I don't have to, like, think ahead. I don't have to plan shots. I don't have to, like, go out anywhere. I don't have to do anything. I just print out the questions and answer them for you guys. So if you do have a question that wants to get answered, hey, email it to me through YouTube, or post it on my channel page, and maybe I'll answer your question next time. So once again, this is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and keep on growing.